Okay, we're back in again this week. Gaughan Racing, Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. Brendan is, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, is joining us from the hinterlands of Mexico. Where are you and what are you doing?
Listen, I can promise you the guys from Pardon the Interruption or anything like that definitely have never been on location to the places I go. I'm in a town right now called Ojo Negro. We're just south of Ensenada, qualifying going just off to my right over there. And nowadays, thank you to Mr. Elon Musk and, of course, Starlink, I'm standing in the middle of the desert, just got out of the race car pre-running and told the guys that they're stuck here for an hour with me. And so we're here on the Starlink, standing in the middle of Ojos Negros, and it's a beautiful place in Baja. Not many people come to it, but there's a bunch of good vineyards right behind me over here, and it's one of my favorite places. Here I am. I'm Jeff. I didn't leave you hanging.
And what race are you competing in this weekend down there?
This is the runner this weekend. It starts at like 6:30 in the morning. It starts this year. And we got our Class 1 car. It's ready to go. Matter of fact, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, I'll do a link because, once again, of Starlink, we actually have live TV coverage from inside the race car. Matter of fact, Buddy Feldkamp is pre-running right now, and that link is live. You can actually look in his race car right now while he's driving. It's pretty cool what they got.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully Starlink will hold out for an hour for us anyway while we're doing this. Okay. Well, Brendan, the first thing we got to talk about before we even get to last week's race or this week's race, the big news of the week that Stewart-Haas Racing is going to be shutting down at the end of the season. Obviously, that affects 4 drivers: Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece, in addition to 2 Xfinity teams, Riley Herbst and Cole Custer. And we've got some guys that have been running pretty well, especially Berry, Gregson, and Briscoe. How is this going to affect them going forward?
Yeah, look, this is I really honestly never expected them. I heard rumors, thought they'd sell 1 or 2 or something like that. I can't believe that Tony and Gene actually shut down all 4. That is just, I really did not expect that. You know what I mean, Jeff? So, big news. Josh Berry just left the Hendrick camp to come over there. Ryan Preece trying to rebuild a career, struggling right now. Chase Briscoe, hit and miss. Noah, look at Vegas guys, right? Two of our Vegas boys, Noah and Riley over there. So a lot of unknowns for them. Lot of trepidation on what's going on over there. That's big news, and it matters to bettors, Jeff, because look, how are the guys working on the car really hard? Or are they trying to find jobs right now? You know what? It could mean something. We may be in a hold on any Noah bets or any Chase Briscoe bets right now. I may have to and say I want to see what happens.
Well, and I think you make a good point. This is completely different than the situation with Michael McDowell leaving Front Row going over to Spire, because those guys working on that car, they are still going to be working on that car no matter who's driving. And Michael McDowell wants to keep winning races and running up front. Now, if you're Noah and Ryan and Chase and Josh, you've got something to prove, though. You realize that, look, those charters are going to get bought by somebody. We already know Front Row is buying one of them. You want to make sure you have a job for next year. You're out there trying to impress somebody.
I've said this for years, Jeff. There are more great race car drivers right now than there are race teams. And think about this. Right now, Trackhouse is rumored to be one. They already have Shane Van Gisbergen and somebody else.
Zane Smith. They got Zane Smith. Right.
Yeah. So they already have. They know what they want with theirs. 2311 supposedly is in the for one. You already know that's either going to be Denny Hamlin or Corey Heim type thing. You already have these things kind of locked up where they're going. So these guys are in trouble of finding a good solid ride. And silly season could get big here in the next month and start real early.
Well, we do know that there's 2 rides open right now at Front Row, I believe, with Michael McDowell moving on, and they bought one of those charters, and they race Fords, and the Stewart-Haas teams are Fords. I would imagine they probably will buy some of that equipment in addition to potentially going after. And look, 2 of those drivers, Briscoe and Gregson, probably are going to bring a little bit of sponsorship support with them. I'm not sure exactly what Berry and Preece have. We also know Riley Herbst is a guy who's got an opportunity to bring some sponsorship with them as well if he decides to either move up or move over to a different team.
Well, and this year was the first year Front Row got that tier designation. So Front Row is a major player in the Ford camp. Them losing Stewart-Haas those resources probably could go right into front row. So this actually could be bad timing for Michael McDowell to leave there. I mean, Michael put in all that work, and now this could be a huge year, 2025, for front row if the way this plays out.
Well, it'll be curious to see kind of what happens this week, the next couple weeks. We'll see how these Stewart-Haas teams are performing. Again, like you said, crew guys are looking for jobs, but they're also trying to impress potential employers, and that's both the crew guys and the drivers. So, well, let's turn our attention a little bit toward the Coca-Cola 600 from last week. And before we actually get into the race itself, probably the biggest story coming out of it was the fact that Kyle Larson, because of the rain delay in the Indy 500, he was not able to make a start in that race. Justin Allgaier assumed that car, had a good run. I mean, we know the race was rain shortened, but still finished 13th. It was solid, but maybe not where Kyle Larson's standards would be.
Well, look, you got to give Justin kudos. I mean, 13th place finish, great job. They showed on television, right? Kyle was getting his helmet on, plugging the things in. They were under caution. You know, he come running in, getting ready to jump in, and they throw the red flag. It was like, oh. So, you know, Larson was there and ready. But for bettors, you know, you and I and the pit crew, we all picked a bet against Kyle Larson, which when you do our results this week, Motley, we said that has to fly to Allgaier. And we barely won those bets. Allgaier almost beat Martin Truex Jr. Allgaier almost beat, Tyler Reddick. So I mean, it was really close. It was one spot, 13th to 12th for Martin Truex. So that was a heck of a run for old Justin Allgaier. Really proud of him. Well,
and let's talk about the 600. Christopher Bell, who has really kind of struggled a lot this season, but he picked up his second win of the season. We knew, though, the race got called because of rain. They finished 2 stages, got halfway through the 3rd stage of the race. But a big win for Christopher Bell to kind of get him back on track. And look, at the end of the day, he also had to pass some cars there in those last 50 laps to get himself up front. Probably did have the best car. Keselowski, you could argue, he had a pretty solid car too. Maybe he could have run him down if there had been more laps. You never know when there's still almost 150 laps left in that race, but a great win for Christopher Bell.
Yeah, no, Bell, Brad Keselowski he was fast, had another shot with that top 3 there. A bunch of great guys. I mean, Ty Gibbs, another good run. Josh Berry running for his life, sitting there with a top 10 finish. So has some guys in that top 10 that did pretty darn well too.
Yeah, let's take a look at what the odds were. Christopher Bell was 12-1 to win. He was plus 400 for a top 3, plus 275 to win Group B. He also brought Toyota the win at a plus 140. His championship odds have actually now really dropped to plus 500. You're not going to get Christopher Bell any better than plus 500 at this point. So I think where we're at, and if you guys are listening to us on SiriusXM, that noise in the background is a bunch of off-road buggies and trucks flying around behind Brendan as he's down there in Mexico.
Yeah, they don't understand that it's we came up here to try to be quiet. We moved away from race cars. They're following us. But look, we said it a couple weeks ago, right? Christopher Bell, you knew that his odds were going to get smaller. We've talked about it, about the futures. You've kind of missed the window now of opportunity on Christopher. You're going to have to find the next one for that future bet to get a good number on if you're looking for the championship for the end of the year.
And really, really big kudos out to the Toyota teams. I mean, not only did Toyota win the manufacturer, they took 4 of the top 6 positions too, with Reddick getting 4th, Denny Hamlin 5th, and Ty Gibbs, who won the pole, finished 6th, had a really strong car. I think kind of the pit stops, the weather, and everything else probably threw his day off a little bit, but pretty solid for Toyota. And you mentioned a minute ago, Josh Berry. Josh Berry, that's back-to-back top 10s for Josh Berry, finishing 10th in the race. So definitely a step in the right direction for that group.
Yeah, and, still a step in the wrong direction. Kyle Busch, 15th place, RCR, they're still non-existent. And that matters this week because as we get ready for Gateway, Kyle Busch is the last winner here at Gateway. So do I believe in him yet or not? I don't know.
No, that's a good point. Let's take a quick look at how our standings are shaking out right now. Chris Buescher is now the guy on the cut line. Unfortunate for Chris Buescher, had a mechanical problem, led to a crash in qualifying, had to start at the rear of the field. And, you've got a 600-mile race and you barely run 400 of those miles. That's kind of hard to make up.
Well, a lot of problems on pit lane, too. Him and Denny Hamlin getting into fights every pit stop, not working with each other. and that did not help them at all on that. But Buescher, he's only what, 11 points to the good right now, and Kyle Busch 1 point ahead of them. Bubba Wallace only 9 points ahead of that. Joey Logano now. Imagine that Joey Logano is 30 points out right now of the playoffs. That's huge that Joey Logano and the Penske team is that far down.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I mean, we've talked, before that you get an upset winner on a road course or super speedway, and then everything jumbles up if somebody outside. And speaking of that, as we look forward into the schedule coming up, we mentioned the fact we're going to Worldwide Technology Raceway this weekend. You and I know it as Gateway International Raceway, just outside St. Louis, right across the Mississippi. It's actually in Illinois. It's right across the Mississippi River. But if you're at the track, you look up and you can see the Gateway Arch of St. Louis. So that's this weekend. But then we got a couple of wild cards. We go to the road course in Sonoma that we know can certainly be wide open, and then the first ever Cup Series visit to Iowa Speedway, and then an old staple on the circuit, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and then another track that we really have not run a lot of Cup races on, Nashville Super Speedway. So 3 of the next 5 races, tracks that we don't have a lot of Cup laps on, and 1 a road course that anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, talk about an eclectic schedule. Once again, Gateway, 2 races, Iowa, first race, Nashville, second race, and then you throw in the Magic Mile in between it with the not Crayola Crayon 301.
Oh, yeah. We got to make sure that, what did we decide that is again now?
Software.
Software.
It's cloud-based stuff. Yeah, cloud stuff.
Cloud-based software company, all that. Well, anyway, but this weekend, though, it's all about Gateway. It's kind of hard to compare Gateway to any track. It's like a Darlington layout without the banking.
Phoenix a little bit. 3 and 4 is very similar to Phoenix. Darlington, Phoenix. I give it a little more Phoenix, though.
I guess I like the Darlington part because one turn is much narrower and the other turn is wider and sweeping. And a little New Hampshire, too, probably thrown in there, too. I mean, there's a lot of comparisons we can make. Okay, we'll be back on Gaughan Racing in a couple minutes, and we will give you the odds to win and top 3s.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Back here on Gaughan Racing, Jeff Motley in studio. Brendan Gaughan joining us from Mexico, where he is there to race in the Baja 500. Did we get the number right this time? Baja 500 this time?
Yep, 500.
Right? You guys had like
you
got the Baja 500, you got the Baja 1000, and didn't one year you have the Baja 2000 because it was in the year 2000? They made you guys run a double race or something.
In 2000, they zigzagged us all the way. The peninsula is only 1,100 miles long, and we made a 2,000-mile race out of the Baja Peninsula. So they zigzagged us across every road they could.
They should have just had you go down to Cabo, spend a couple days partying in Cabo, and then drive back. That would have been a 2,000. And you got to hang out in Cabo for a day or two. Somebody should have thought of that. So, okay, this weekend, though, we're talking St. Louis, not Mexico. We're talking about Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, Madison, Illinois, actually, right outside of St. Louis this weekend. Our old friend Chris Blair used to run the drag strip here in Vegas, is the general manager out there now. So hoping Chris and his crew have a good weekend out there. But, we've only run 2 cup races. This is going to be the third one. And the 2 winners are Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch won last year. And also Joey finished 3rd last year, and Kyle finished 2nd in the first race. So 2 races. Kyle Busch has got an average finish of 1.5. Joey's got an average finish of 2. And both of them have been having horrible years. So do you think Gateway is a track where they bounce back?
Well, look, I was just looking at that. You got 3 guys. You got Logano, Busch, Blaney, Truex are the 4 guys that all have top 5s, top 10s in both races. So Blaney not running great. Got, been okay, but not running great. Logano not running well. Kyle Busch not running well. Martin Truex, So is this the week that those guys come back? Do the veterans now, do the rookies now do better? It's going to be tough. We have so few data points. I'm going to have to lean heavily on probably Phoenix for me.
Well, and as we go into the odds to win here, the one name that you didn't mention there, and I think it's kind of there's an asterisk up there, is Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had a very solid run last year. He had a top 5, and we'll all remember the very first Gateway race. He was running very well in that race, and he and Ross Chastain agreed to disagree, and that became quite a story for a couple weeks to come after that one. So I think Denny's probably the one guy who doesn't have 2 really good finishes, but you have to put an asterisk by one of those because that was sort of the Ross Chastain issue that he had there.
Yeah, 2nd place last year, and you're right. And the Ross Chastain's another one that we got to look out. Finishes, but ran great in both races. So that's we got to pay attention to that one too because he's been running. He needs a good run also. All
right, well, let's take a look at our odds to win. And Denny Hamlin is the favorite at plus 500. Kyle Larson comes in at plus 600. William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. at plus 800. Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell are 10-1. Tyler Reddick is 12-1. Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs, and Brad Keselowski all at 14. Kyle Busch at 16. Joey Logano and Chris Buescher at 18. And Ross Chastain, who you just mentioned, coming in at 20-1.
I look right there. Ryan Blaney, I just kind of poo-pooed him. But let's go to Phoenix. I said this place has a lot of Phoenix in it, right? Phoenix, 9 top 10s, 7 top 5s in last 10 races. The Fords have run better. The Fords of Roush Fenway Keselowski. So do I think that Ryan Blaney can do it? This would be a place.
Well, in the one... Well, it looks like you've got Brendan's got people waving at him from the dune buggies behind him in the background. So
that was R.J. Anderson, the famous R.J. Anderson, Walker Evans Racing fame, Randy Anderson's son. I changed his diapers, by the way, growing up, and now he's racing.
Well, now that he's made an appearance, on Gaughan Racing, flying by in a dune buggy, we've definitely made him famous. So the one guy there that I'm kind of looking at, and maybe it's a bit to pick him to win. But the hottest guy in the sport right now is 14-1 is Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, and that's I'm trying to look up Brad's stats right now, but Brad, 5 top 10s in the last 10 races at Phoenix. So I kind of like that. And you got to say his stats at Gateway not great, right? RFK wasn't that good. So
and it's 2 races.
Do I stick on 2? Oh, sorry, did I say 5? Sorry, 2. I like Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, I'm still high on, even though he had a bad race this weekend. Still think they're the Fords to beat if you're talking Ford.
Well, and I don't even completely chalk up last week to being a bad race because who knows what he could have done in those last 140 laps. Because like you said, part of his problem was he and Denny Hamlin couldn't seem to straighten out their pit stops down there together. And Charlotte has some of the tighter pit boxes in the entire sport. So that it's an older racetrack. The pit road actually, despite being a big track, the way the track's configured, it's not a long pit road. So certainly made that more challenging. All right, let's take a look at our longer shots, if you will. Alex Bowman comes in at 35-1. Bubba Wallace is 40. Josh Berry's 50. Chase Briscoe, Noah Gragson at 60. Daniel Suarez, who's had some good runs here at Gateway, 75. Then Eric Jones and Carson Hocevar, 100 to 1. Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell, Austin Dillon, Austin Cindric, Ryan Preece at 200, and a field bet of 20 to 1. Alex Bowman, 35 to 1. Bubba, 40 to 1. Pretty good numbers on a couple of guys that could surprise you here.
Yeah, Bubba's been good, right? I mean, Bubba has been good at a lot of places lately. I like Daniel Suarez, like you said. He's got a top 10 here, but I don't know if I like Daniel Suarez anywhere lately. He's just not running well enough. Until he runs better, I'm on a holding pattern.
Well, and I think that's fair. I mean, we definitely need to see probably a stronger run out of him, but it's probably at least the place he's going to go have a little confidence. But I don't think I'll pick anybody off of that list. So let's take a look at our odds for top threes right now. Denny Hamlin sits at the top at plus 160. Kyle Larson's plus 170. William Byron and Ryan Blaney plus 250. Truex and Bell 275. Reddick, Gibbs, Keselowski all at 350. Logano's 400. Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott are 450. Buscher's 500. Chastain's 550. Bubba and Bowman both at 11 to 1.
I look at that and I go, we always circle the same names, right? We talk about guys that Brad Keselowski is 350. I mean, come on, there you go. The two guys we talked about, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, two guys that have been great here, 400s. But a guy we haven't talked about, a guy who had a good run at Charlotte, a guy who could have won at Charlotte. Ty Gibbs is 350. He's running really strong right now again.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Gibbs is certainly an interesting one to watch, and I also, kind of like you do, Brendan, I mean, I believe in momentum. Christopher Bell's team is definitely one. It's taking some momentum into this race at plus 275, but I come back to Brad Keselowski, and it's one thing to try to pick him to win at 14 to 1, but it seems like every week right now, Brad Keselowski is running in the top 5, and a plus 350, I think, for him to get a top 3. I really, really like Brad Keselowski there for the top 3.
Nope. I don't disagree. I like Brad a lot on that one. That's a 350 right there, and I go down to Chris Buescher plus 500. Those two guys have been the strongest forwards, and I like both of them.
All right, let's take a look at our longer odds to finish in the top 3. Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, and Chase Briscoe are all 17 to 1. Daniel Suarez at 28. Eric Jones is 35. Then the numbers get much bigger. McDowell, Dillon, and Cindric all at 60. Gilliland, Preece, Hocevar at 80. Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie at 100. Zane Smith, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kaz Grala all coming in at 250. Brendan, there's a name out there that at 17 to 1 is kind of a little bit interesting to me, and that's Josh Berry. And that's because and granted, we don't know what's going to happen with the Stewart-Haas teams, but there's a guy who's had back-to-back top 10s, including one of those being a top 3. He's got some experience on this track in the Xfinity Series. So I just think Josh Berry, if you're looking at a flyer, that one could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't say I dislike Josh Berry right now. He's running well enough to be in the conversation. Definitely not a win, a top 3. Maybe I'll take a look at him when we get to a group. If maybe he's in a group D or E, maybe it might jump out at me a little more. But if you're looking for the flyer, he hasn't. I like him, but I'm more interested in what he looks like in a group matchup.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, you've got actually 3 of those Stewart-Haas cars right there that are all 17 to 1s. And I mean, granted, it's a stretch for those guys to get a top 3 right now, but I don't think there's any of them, whether it be Noah or Josh or Briscoe, that if they were to finish in the top 3, I don't think we would be shocked. We'd be like, wow, cool, that was a great payoff. I get 17 to 1. But I don't think we would, and yes, we would talk about it when we recap the top 10 and say, hey, man, they got a top 3. That was great. But I don't think you and I would be like, oh, my gosh. I mean, it's not like saying Kaz Grala got a top 3.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you because I think all 3 drivers that you named are capable of it any week. It's just whether they can get everything right and get rolling is kind of the big difference.
No, you're right there. All right, let's take a look at our driver head-to-heads, and I don't know if Brendan can really hear me right now because as I'm looking at him, he has no headset on. Now he can hear me. We are professionally unprofessional, especially when Brendan is out in the middle of the Mexican desert. Is there a name for that desert you're in? I know it's not the Mexican. You're on the Baja California, the Baja Peninsula. If anybody doesn't know where Brendan's at, it's that narrow little strip of land that goes from like San Diego down to Cabo. He's out there on that
Baja,
little strip.
Lower. Lower California. Baja is Lower California.
Right, but is there a
That's what Baja
name?
means.
Is there a name of that desert? Is it the Baja Desert? I don't know. Give us a geography lesson here. I don't even know.
Up here. It's just the Ojos Negros. You're not into the pine forest mountains. You're not into the dry lakes. You're just in the middle of. Actually, I'm looking at a winery and a vineyard right next to me.
I swear, if anybody is actually, for those of you, I know you're listening on Sirius XM, you have no idea what we're talking about. But if you're actually looking at the video right now, I mean, you feel like Brendan is actually going to do a scene out of Yellowstone. I'm like waiting for Kevin Costner to come riding into the scene or something like that.
Anderson voice, they filled in for me.
Well, it's nice that you got some backup. All right, real quick, we take a look at our head-to-heads. If you want to bet against Denny Hamlin, this is a time to do it. Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Martin Truex Jr. all plus 130. The Denny Hamlin's minus 150. That's the biggest numbers we got out there.
Yeah, and I don't mind the William Byron Denny Hamlin one. That one I like. I don't like the Blaney. I don't really like the Truex, but I do like the Byron 130. I also don't dislike Byron to Kyle Larson. Byron's been running pretty good lately, and Kyle wasn't focusing lately, so maybe it'll affect him for a race or two.
Well, and Kyle Larson in the two races we have at Gateway, I mean, it's not like he's gotten out and really dominated those races like we've seen Kyle Larson do before. There's a lot of minus 110s to minus 110s. We won't even get into those. It's just, head-to-heads, it's our nickel and diamond way of trying to get some money. All right, we'll be back on Gaughan Racing. We'll start talking about our group matchups. Be back in a second.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Back here at Gaughan Racing, our segment 3. Jeff Motley here in the beautiful South Point studios. Brendan in the beautiful desert down in Baja, California. That's actually Mexico for everyone. It's our geography lesson. He's in Baja, California, but that is in Mexico. Correct? I'm right on that, correct? Yep.
Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, yes,
right.
You're correct.
All right, we're breaking down.
It's the Sonoran Desert, if you want to exact. It's the Sonoran Desert.
See, I thought it might be Sonoran Desert, and I didn't want to embarrass myself by saying, is it the Sonoran Desert?
It's part of it, but it's just we're at the very tip of it.
Okay, well, we're talking all things the Enjoy Illinois 300 from Worldwide Technology Raceway, formerly known as Gateway International Raceway, in the shadow of St. Louis and the Gateway Arch. So, I got to believe that the Illinois Tourism Bureau puts their name on the race just so everybody that's watching on TV that sees the Gateway Arch over top of, turn 1 and 2, turn 1, knows that they're not in Missouri, I guess. So, and I believe they're hauling cattle behind Brendan right now as this truck went by. I'm not sure what that was all about, but
welcome to Baja.
Yeah, welcome to Baja, Mexico. By the way, next week I will be sitting in the media center at Sonoma Raceway while you're here in the studio, and I will promise you there will not be any dune buggies or trucks hauling cattle going by me while we are doing. Although we could have a sheep show up behind us at Sonoma, because we are a sheep farm up there at Sonoma, so you never know. Anyway,
I love my life.
Okay.
This is awesome.
All right, so back to the Visit Illinois 300.
Please.
We're in our group matchups now. In Group A, Denny Hamlin is the favorite at plus 210. Then Kyle Larson at plus 250. William Byron plus 315. And Martin Truex Jr. at plus 320. And Brendan, the first thing that jumps out at me is William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. have plus 300 numbers beside their names.
And look, they're up against Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, but man, Byron's been pretty good everywhere we go. 315. Truex maybe cooled off a little, but man, I mean he was fifth here in the race last year. He had a good run, and that's tempting right there. I mean, remember we talk about these numbers tempt you. That 315, that 320 definitely tempt me.
Well, and when I'm sitting here think about who am I going to pick in for my picks this week, and I'm just going to be honest with you, even before we get to segment 4, I've been really kind of looking at the Brad Keselowski top 3, right? And that's a plus 350. And I'm thinking, okay, so let's see. Brad has got to beat 33 other guys at plus 350. Truex for plus 320 has only got to beat 3 guys. Now I say only got to beat 3 guys. It's William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamlin. But a plus 320 or even a plus 315 on William Byron having to beat Truex, Larson, and Hamlin, oh boy, it's so tempting. I agree with you.
That's a big number. I like it. I like William Byron, not too far there. If I was going to do fire on this, I'd fire William Byron at 315. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to it, but I would definitely fire on him at the 315.
Well, I'm kind of with. I like both of those plus 300s. Again, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to pick it, but I give the odds makers credit for setting a line that definitely can make you take a long look at it. All right, let's take a look at Group B. We have co-favorites there: Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch at plus 255, and then Chris Buescher and Joey Logano at plus 280. What do you think there, Brendan?
I'm looking at stats, and Reddick has not been that good here, nor has he been that good at Phoenix. Only 2 top 5s in the last 9 races. When he's good, he's great, and then he hasn't been great a lot. So I look at this and say the hottest guy in the sport has been Chris Buescher. He's the dog at 280. I'm not ready to jump on the Kyle Busch bandwagon. I can't say RCR is back yet. And the guy that you and I love on this show that cashes the tickets is Chris Buescher, and he's the long shot. So I like that Chris Buescher at 280 bet.
Well, the one thing that I do look at this, and look, I know who's won the 2 races we've had at Gateway. I know it's been Joey Logano and it's been Kyle Busch. But I don't care if they've won the last 2 races there, because what I've seen in 2024 does not give me any reason to have confidence that they're going to go out and win this race, or that they're going to run that well in this race either. So to me, it really does come down to Tyler Reddick and Chris Buescher. And I know Reddick's numbers are not phenomenal here at Gateway, but I like Reddick here because, number one, the Toyotas have been really good. I'm not sure what last week hangover from last week has for Chris Buescher's team. And Buescher has been so good mostly on these bigger 1.5-mile faster tracks. I'm not so sure that we've quite seen that on these little bit smaller tracks. I think it's a track that kind of sets up for Tyler Reddick's driving style, which is a little surprising that his numbers have not been better here. But again, we have such a small sample size. We've only had 2 races here. And the first year, I believe, was Reddick still racing for Childress, I believe, the first year that we came to Gateway. So I kind of like Tyler Reddick here because I like the Toyotas on a track like this. And again, I really kind of put it as a 2-man race between Reddick and Buescher, and I tend to lean Reddick on this one.
And it's not too far of a gap. It's 255 to 280. So I can't disagree with your logic there. It doesn't bother me.
All right, let's take a look at Group C. And speaking of the Toyotas, we've got co-favorites here. Christopher Bell at plus 265, last week's winner of the Coca-Cola 600, along with Chase Elliott, is also plus 265. Bell's teammate at Joe Gibbs, Ty Gibbs, is plus 270. And the guy we said is the hottest guy in the sport right now, Brad Keselowski, also coming in at plus 270.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's in Group C. He's plus 270. He was second last week. He was leading really well here at Charlotte last week. Also was leading the week before and was up there the week before that. He has been fast everywhere we go lately. I think Brad Kay is back being Brad Kay of championship form, and he's the dog at 270. I know Christopher Bell is your most recent winner. I know I just said Ty Gibbs has been doing great, but I'm high on them RFK cars right now, and I think Brad Kay at 270 is a good bet.
Well, and I certainly don't argue with you on that one. I mean, I honestly, the guy I'm kind of throwing out of this group is Chase Elliott right now. And Ty
He's
Gibbs,
good, but he's just not yeah.
Right.
He's
but we talk about momentum, and literally probably the two drivers with the most momentum right now in the sport are Christopher Bell and Brad Keselowski, and they're both sitting here in Group C. And I think that's probably the hard thing about this group is you look at it and you're like, man, I could see Christopher Bell and Brad Keselowski being in Group B. In fact, I think I would pick both of them.
They should be.
I'd pick both of them ahead of Kyle Busch and Joey Logano right now if they were in this group. So I could easily move them into Group B, put Joey Logano and Kyle Busch in Group C, and honestly, I think Group B and Group C would be better if those numbers were fixed. So
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
So I just like the fact that I think Group B and Group C are really almost I don't want to say Group C is a two-man horse race, but I just don't have Ty Gibbs quite at the same spot that I do Christopher Bell and Brad Keselowski right now. All right, let's take a look at Group D, and we've got an overwhelming favorite here, and that's Ross Chastain at plus 185. Then Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace both are plus 280. And a guy we've talked about several times in the show, Josh Berry, bumping all the way up into Group D at a plus 375.
That Alex Bowman thing right there kind of makes me go, because Bowman, when he shows up, and that's 280, right? We're not talking a one, it's for four guys and a 280. It's not 220. That's a big number. Ross Chastain, I think, was the 185, honestly. I was actually interested to see where it was in the groups, and it kind of bums me out that he's so low. I didn't want to bet it. And I mentioned earlier Josh Berry. Well, here he is, 375. Is that enough? Do you think that's enough? Look, Josh is a short track ace, right? That's where Josh came from. That's what Josh was about. Here you go. Gateway, 375, four-man horse race. Guy's not running that well. Maybe this is the one for Josh Berry if he's trying to get the job for next year.
Well, I think the part that scares me the most is how much I agree with you on Alex Bowman right here. I've been a big supporter of Bubba Wallace. I think because I think he has made some improvements. But Bowman's been running better lately. And that number is really big, plus 280. I mean, so he is the second favorite in Group D, and that is a bigger number than the underdog in Group C. So to me, a 280 on Alex Bowman, I love that. The Josh Berry equation, boy, that's a tough one because it is such a great return on Josh Berry, and I think he definitely has shown over the last couple weeks that team has shown marked improvement. It's like we've kind of gone through over at Stewart-Haas. Briscoe was the hottest guy in that camp. And then Noah Gragson was the hottest guy in that camp. And right now, Josh Berry's the hottest guy in that camp. And we're seeing Briscoe and Gragson not really recede. So we're seeing that whole team, which is, I know we get off subject here, but it really makes you even more disappointed with the fact that team is going to go away at the end of the year because they got some good young drivers who are really making strides.
But that goes to the same point. Do we bet on Josh Berry right now with all that fear of what's going on? That's what has me nervous. Are those guys going to really stay that focused right now? I don't know.
Yeah, I know your point, but I also think there's something about, a dog fights when he's backed into a corner, right? And I think I think when you're out there and you know that you're auditioning for a job every week, I think there's certain level of intensity that goes into what you're doing. So I think whether you're a crew guy, whether you're a driver, whether you are an engine tuner, a mechanic, whatever your role is, you want to show these other teams how good you are. And so if that team is doing well, people are going to want to take their people. So to me, I don't know if it's going to be that big of a factor, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
All right. Enticement.
All right, let's take a look at Group E. Chase Briscoe, speaking of the Stewart-Haas guys, Chase Briscoe and Noah Gragson both come in as co-favorites at plus 215. Daniel Suarez plus 295. And talking about a big number, plus 400, Eric Jones.
Wow, I might take Eric Jones just for the number. I mean, really? Come on, it's a plus 400 in a four-man horse race, and the other guys aren't like we said, they've been kind of hit and miss. I hard to go against a big number like that.
Well, and I mean, I can see that. I mean, I think the plus 400, I mean, the legacy team, you know what? I guess it's been a little bit frustrating because I think that when you see all these other Toyotas, whether it's the 2311 group or it's the Gibbs group that are running so well, you kind of, and a guy like Eric Jones, who I think we all think is a talented racer. And by the way, I also want to say one thing about Eric Jones. You know, they had the drivers only broadcast on Saturday of the Xfinity race. If Eric Jones decided to quit driving tomorrow, I would put him in the broadcast booth. That guy is amazing. Now, granted, that doesn't win him Group E. But I do think I just wanted to say he was amazing, I thought, on the broadcast. But plus 400 for Eric Jones, very, very tempting there in Group E.
Well, and he's got the best average finish, too. He's actually got a top 10 in one of the two races here. So I like Eric Jones.
Yep, I don't disagree with you on that one. Okay, we come back on Gaughan Racing. We got one final segment to go. We'll give you Group F. We'll give you the manufacturer props. Tell you how we did in our picks last week and give you our picks for Gateway.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Back here on our final segment of Gaughan Racing, Jeff Motley here in the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa Studios. Brendan Gaughan joining us remotely from Baja, California, where he's running the Baja 500 this weekend down there in Mexico. Brendan, it looks like you're enjoying a beautiful day, but it's pretty windy there. We hear the wind in your microphone when we don't see buggies and cattle-toting trucks in the background.
Yes, hopefully this last segment can go through unscathed and we can stop the professionally unprofessional version of me and you.
There we go. Okay, well, let's take a look at Group F. And Brendan, as I'm going to read these Group F numbers here, this may be the most bizarre set of numbers in a group that I've ever seen. We have 3 favorites, Todd Gilliland, Carson Hocevar, and Michael McDowell, all at plus 235. And are you ready for this, folks? Austin Dillon at plus 420. Ooh. Plus 420. And that's your old team, Brendan. Your old team is a plus 420 in Group F. What's going on?
Yeah, Austin's got to figure something out soon. It's looking pretty bad for Austin Dillon. Matter of fact, things are getting stranger because now I got a helicopter coming over top. God, welcome to my life. It's sad Austin Dillon it's gone that far, right? I mean, average finish in 2 races of 23 here. It's 420, and I'm not even talking about that being enough enticement to bet him.
You know, it's interesting you say that because when I looked at the Group F and I saw those numbers, I had zero interest in taking Austin Dillon at plus 420.
Yeah. I like McDowell. I like Hocevar. McDowell has a couple top 10s, has one top 10 here in the 2 races. I'd go McDowell in a heartbeat at 235.
Yeah, I think McDowell, he's been fairly solid the last few weeks. Look, and Todd Gilliland, he's consistent every week. I mean, he's not finishing outside the top 15 hardly at all. There's been several races where it's been McDowell, then Gilliland, or Gilliland, then McDowell. But to me, this is mostly a two-horse race. Hocevar could slip in there, but I like McDowell and Gilliland in almost a two-horse race in this Group F.
Average finish 18.5 for Todd Gilliland, average Michael McDowell in the two races of 19. So they're the two favorites by far, but I like McDowell right now. I think he's just been running a little bit better.
All right, we'll take a look at our manufacturer odds this week, and they're probably tightened up a little bit from what we've seen in some past weeks. Toyota is the favorite at plus 130, and I think that just goes along with Denny Hamlin being the favorite to win the race. Chevrolet is a plus 180, Ford a plus 240, and I think that really, and it's interesting that we would not have thought that the Ford numbers would be so tied to RFK Racing, but here we are, where it's RFK Racing, it's really carrying the blue oval.
Yeah, if you'd have told us that at the start of the year, we'd have looked at you and said, you're crazy. But 240 for the Ford, and it's not a long shot anymore. I think that Brad and Chris both give you a great shot to win that.
Yeah, no question about that. I mean, and look, I think those are good numbers on the manufacturer prop for all three of them. I mean, they're all in plus numbers. It's just which way do you go? Because I think we got the Hendrick cars, we got the Gibbs cars.
Tough bet this week.
No, it's definitely a tough bet.
Sure.
All right, we can take a quick look at our championship odds. Don't have to spend a lot of time on that. We really haven't seen a lot of movement other than Christopher Bell. He opened the season at 12-1. He's already down to plus 500. His odds aren't going to change much until we get into the playoffs now. He's already got 2 wins, so everybody kind of knows what he can do. And I think Bell is one of those guys that we kind of look at and we say, man, when they put it together, they don't screw up in the pits or he doesn't make a mistake on the track. They're really strong. It's like it's almost like there's no middle ground with Christopher Bell. He's either contending to win or they're having a rough day.
And that's 100% been kind of their MO this year. Almost all of them, right? Denny Hamlin, same thing. He's going to win or has a pit road mistake. But if I look at this right now, I still see a lot of value in Tyler Reddick. I still see a lot of value in Brad Kay. I still see a lot of value in Ty Gibbs and even Joey Logano. I can't see Penske being down that long. So I see a lot of these guys jump on them before they really get to much, much smaller odds.
Well, and do you look at Chris Buescher at a 30-1? I mean,
30-1. I didn't even go to that side.
Because keep in mind, we're coming up on, here in the next probably month or so, we're going to get into the part of the schedule where Chris Buescher was so good last year. And so, where he's going to be going with some confidence. So
I turned my head to that side of the page and I went, oh, hey, 30-1 and 50-1 at Alex Bowman still. I mean, that's a team that can turn it on at any time.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at last week's picks, and I will have to confess that both you and the pit crew both certainly outdid me. I did have the Truex over Larson that turned into Truex over Allgaier. I had a couple of really tough losses. I lost another one by 1 position last week. Very disappointing. But you got wins.
Tough, aren't they, Jeff? They're always tough.
Well, and you decided to go all in on the anti-Larson stance by taking Reddick and Truex against Larson, which turned out to be against Allgaier, and you really believed in the Brad Keselowski. I had faith in Chris Buescher. Of course, we picked these before Chris Buescher crashed in qualifying and had to start dead last in the race, which is another reason why we try to tell everybody we for the SiriusXM listeners, we record this show on Thursdays. Obviously, if you're watching live on YouTube, it's on Thursday. Wait till after qualifying before you actually put your bets down. We just give you some guidance on what to think about. So important there. Pit crew, they did the same thing as far as going with some head-to-heads. Tyler Reddick really came through for the pit crew, picking Reddick over both Denny Hamlin and over Kyle Larson. And they had William Byron over Denny Hamlin. So all three of their picks, I call it the Ty Cobb style, the Punch and Judy singles hitters. But like you said, those tickets cash.
And those tickets, ever since the pit crew finally settled down and started doing that, they're now at plus 11 on the season, Jeff. Weren't they minus 20?
Yeah, well, they definitely were. They were definitely down at one point, and I know right now that just means that I'm at the bottom of the standings looking up, unfortunately. So,
but the good news is we're all plus line still.
We are all plus line. We're all making people money, and with that, since I am at the bottom of the standings, I have to give my picks first. I am going to go with the top three. I'm going to take Brad Keselowski at plus 350 for a top three. Really like Brad K this week. I think he's going to have a strong run. The rest of my picks, I'm going all in the groups because the head-to-heads just don't move it for me this week. I am taking Tyler Reddick in Group B, plus 255. I like Alex Bowman at plus 280 in Group D. I just can't leave the plus 400 Eric Jones dangling out there, so I'm going to go Eric Jones in Group E. And then I'm going Michael McDowell in Group F. Gilliland, kind of last couple of weeks, McDowell has eked him out by a position. So if you're Todd Gilliland, you're looking to finish ahead of Michael McDowell, this will be the week to do it because I picked Michael McDowell.
Well, and I like a couple of those with you. I'm not against you on all of them. And now I'm looking at the pit crew picks, and they're going swinging for the fence again. What got them back in the positives? They're throwing a big cut out there, Motley.
Yeah, they are. They're going to take Martin Truex Jr. to win the race at a plus 800, and they believe this is Logano bounce back week. Joey Logano plus 400 for a top three. They're going into the groups. Christopher Bell in Group C. They also like that plus 400 on Eric Jones going into Group E. There may be a kiss of death coming before the show is over there, although and they're taking Blaney. They're taking Ryan Blaney at plus 130 over Denny Hamlin. But I want to point out, because I already have your picks, that the last time we all three picked somebody, we actually did not jinx them. It was Chris Buescher a couple of weeks ago.
Two times, I think.
Well, I know the last time Buescher came through for us.
But we also did a Logano, and it didn't jinx him. So, I mean, maybe, knock on wood.
So you may not be having to send any apology text this week.
I hope not, because I got my picks. I'm sticking with them. This could be the week, Jeff, of all weeks that I go 0 for 5. Blame it on the desert sun. Blame it on the middle of the desert. I don't know.
Well, just so I can refresh your memory.
The most eclectic set.
Can I refresh your memory? You went 0 for 5 2 weeks ago. I just want to refresh your memory.
Yeah, but this one, the people I'm picking. Even I'm looking at my picks written down right here on this great cardboard box of air filters. That my computer is propped up on out here on a toolbox in a chase truck. I'm looking at it, scratching my head, going, "Who am I and how'd I get here?" We're going to start with Ty Gibbs as a top 3. I'm believing in Ty. Come on, kiddo, do it for me. Bring home some bacon for me. Then I got 3 groups. I got Brad K in Group C. I'm Wyatt is smiling over there at us that we're throwing so much Brad K love. I'm going Josh Berry in Group D, that 375. I'm hoping the short track ace and all the things we talked about were on that side of it. I got Eric Jones in Group E.
There's our kiss of death, right? There it is.
There's our kiss of death. 400, come on. Got to do it. And then I'm going to go Chevy 160. We didn't mention Kyle Larson many times in this thing, and Kyle Larson's just a threat no matter where he goes. They have 180 on the screen. Do I get 160 or 180, Motley? I say 180 since it's on the screen.
Yeah, we'll give you the 180. I'll make sure I note that in my. We'll go by what the screen is, because that's what everybody's looking at is in the screen there. So, all right. Well, that's our picks for this week. We got a couple minutes left here. Brendan, tell us a little bit about this race. You got a co-driver? You got a navigator? How's this going to work this week?
Dr. Buddy Feldkamp, Dr. Feldkamp's son, Dr. Buddy Feldkamp, is starting the race for me in our Class 1 car. He'll do from the start all the way to a place called Mike's Sky Rancho, and then I'll take the Mike's Sky Ranch Road all the way to the finish. Really cool. I got Mike Montez, my normal co-rider. His grandson, Caleb, is going to hit me for 50 miles, and then I'm going to give my son, Rylan, the 11-year-old, another shot. He's doing the last 30. We're going to try to get Rylan is slightly. His grandfather is saying it's okay. His grandmother says I'm crazy, but she raised me. So hopefully we can get both the kids in, get to the finish, get a strong one, and have just a great day. Racing is about family for me now, and I'm so excited. Caleb's first big off-road race, and my son Rylan hopefully gets in this time. He was supposed to get into the last one.
All right, well, we'll wish you luck there. And in the last minute here, you've raced several times at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway. What kind of track is it? What do we expect? You won there. You won there in the Xfinity or trucks? You won a truck race there, right?
Truck series. Love it. It's a driver's track. Shifting and one corner super tight, one corner super big. A lot of fun. Really difficult to drive. A driver can make a difference. Absolutely awesome. I hope everybody has a great time watching it. And I'll tweet out the link on my Instagram and my Twitter for the Baja race.
You know, I
so
just
you can watch it live.
When I think of races out there at Gateway, I can't get past the Spencer Gallagher, John West Townley little tussle there. It was
The Hunt Fest. The Hunt Fest.
God rest John West Townley, but and Spencer's our buddy, but that one's kind of hard to forget. Okay, that is a wrap on Gaughan Racing. Brendan out from the desert of Mexico. We're back next week. I'll be in Sonoma. Brendan will be in studio, and a Wednesday show. See you next week.